Okay, started. All right, let me share my screen again. So for our today's class, we're going to talk about the color theory in UI design. Like there are a lot of um elements that add some kind of spice to our design. So our user interface design, whenever we are designing stuff like web pages or products or applications, or we are trying to design our website, whatever we are designing, there are a lot of elements that can be added to, you know, try to spice up that design so that it's not just be pale and it's not just be, it will not look very attractive. So one of the elements that can be used, in UI design is color, and is a very integral part of UI design. And we need to kind of understand the basics of color so that when we start using it in our design, we'll know how to, you know, put it in the design. And we're going to do it in the best way that we can so that we don't overdo or do things wrongly. So what we're going to be discussing today is we are going to try to understand the color psychology, because different type of colors can invoke different emotions for our users. For different colors, when people who see some kind of colors can feel a particular way, and different colors can, try to make people either feel comfortable or they can feel um like they are in danger. So different colors can bring some different feelings to people over the world. So even if there is a general philosophy on colors, there are kind of, even if like most times, for example, you can say red and is a way of signifying danger. Sometimes red is not always about signifying danger. It could also signify power or like other things also. So we are going to learn the basics of color psychology, and then contrast. We talked about contrast before, you know, trying to know the difference between two colors, and then how one is more distinct than the other. So we are going to learn the color contrast and how to create a color palette. Okay, what exactly is the color theory? So the color theory, like I said, is a one of the integral parts of the arts, and UI design still fall under arts, even though it's still a branch of product design. We are still trying to design something creative. We are still creatives, and we are still going to use the fundamental principles in the art world. So it helps we artists to be able to understand the color interaction, like the how two different colors can relate to each other. Most times two colors can match properly. Like if you combine green and yellow, they'll be able to match together and really sits well on people's eyes. So the color theory is just trying to explain to us which color will easily go together and which color is like um an alternative to the other one, just like we have black and white. Black is like an alternative to white, and then we have some other colors too that are also alternative to themselves. So the color theory tried to explore the basics of color, and we can now apply it into our design. So color psychology also is trying to understand how influence feelings and behaviors. It's just like most times people who drive, and then we have the traffic lights. We know that for the traffic lights, we know that green means go, then red means stop, yellow means get ready. All those different colors. It tries to influence our driving. Like most times when we are driving and then we see red, we just tend to stop. So that's the same way in for our UI design. In colors also, it kind of influences the user interactions with our app. The kind of color that users will see on the app will also influence what they tend to do on that application and how they tend to feel while using the application. And that is why it's very important for us to actually understand what feelings different colors will tend to invoke in people and then use it correctly in our application. So they are actually like very basic colors that I've already mentioned red before. So for example, red brings some kind of, passion, could be excitement, it could be some kind of urgency, often used for sales or warnings. Sometimes when um you are trying to perform, say for example, I want to delete my image, and then they want to warn you, are you sure you want to delete this image? Most times the colors that is being used for warnings like that is red. And you notice that if that kind of warning come, our subconscious become active to actually read carefully what that warning is trying to say. But if, for example, someone is trying to using, say, black or say pink, you know, it's not kind of awakening our subconscious to read carefully what that warning is trying to say. But then when a red color is used to, um to display that any type of warning on our application, it just kind of make the user be more aware of what is trying to do on that application or the action is trying to perform on the application. And then most of the times that we use red as well, we can also use red for, signifying passion or kind of excitement. Sometimes when we go through some kind of advertisements, we notice that they use some kind of red, to, spice up the whole advertisement so that it's not going to be just black and just black and white. So for blue, you know, blue is kind of a way of showing trust, calmness, professionalism, commonly seen in tech and financial apps. Yeah, exactly. Like most of the fintechs we have presently, blue is always their bank color. We have banks like is their bank color. They have there are so many fintechs. I'm trying to remember a lot of them. So blue is just like most people who want to dress professional, like especially when guys want to dress the professional way, the most of the color that they pick is that black and white or black and blue. But, blue is a way of trying to show a little bit of professionalism, and then it's also displays trust and calmness. Then we have green. Green is, like when you want to think about green, we always think about green like forest, we have green grass, we have nature. If you want to think about green, it's only, yeah, in nature, it's not about blue or green. Green is a kind of showing, even if we see most agricultural companies of today, they mostly use green as a brand color. So green is a way of showing health, goods, it's showing nature. That's what all these most companies. So green shows like good health, balance, is used in health and eco-friendly designs. Then we have yellow. So yellow is like it could be used for creative designs. Like it can also be used to drag attentions. There are some warnings also that we want to display on our application, and we might not like instead of using red, you can also use yellow. So it's kind of also drag some kind of attention, especially if the warning is kind of subtle. It's not a danger kind of warning. It's just like trying to inform like an info to the user. So we can also use yellow to display that kind of warning. And then yellow is also shows some kind of happiness. It could be some showing some energy, and then it shows tension. But most times this is like the general rule. The This is like the general foundation of what's the color psychology, like the kind of feelings it invoke in users. They can be sometimes where for some people, when they see green, they don't tend to think of health, maybe because of their background, maybe because of where they are coming from, or it could be different factors. So if this particular psychology, the general rule in psychology, might not be a a rule for every single person on planet. So this is like the study that is being done on colors, and what is the findings that are being found. So even if we've seen that green is not mean that for every single time we want to design a health application, we must use green. There's no rule, there's no particular rule in this creative world. This is just like a foundational learning that we just have to know. But it's also very good, like when you are being creative, it's also very good to know the basics. So when you are grounded in the basics and then you want to explore, you will not know how. So what is contrast? We've spoken about contrast severally, like over time. There are different ways that, and we can use color, we can use text, and the text could be either text hierarchy, or we can also use by size. But for using colors, so color contrast is like the difference between two colors, and it can help different elements in our design to stand out. So just like you can have this, you can see this white, this eye design here. You can see this white, this one on the background that is white. Then the color wheel on the right. You can see how the color wheel is standing out from the right because of the high contrast you have with the right background. This color wheel on the out to stand out from the background. So that is what color contrast does in our UI design. When there is a high contrast in two different elements based on color, more prominent than the other one. So that is why its contrast is important, because it makes both text and buttons. So we could add colors to our text, to a particular text. Say you want a particular text to stand out from the others, you could add color to it to make it stand out. And then our button, most times our button is always colored. The time it's our brand color. So making our buttons to have the brand color is already making it standing out in our application. And then when we tend to make elements to stand out, it become very easy for our users to be able to detect this element and then interact with it. So it ensures your design is accessible for users with vision impairment. Most of the times it's not everybody that can be able to read colors easily. Sometimes some people might see blue and then they will think it's green, and some might see red and they will think it's pink. And then different factors can where we see colors based on our devices, because the way you're seeing this color on this, I'm using a MacBook Pro, the way I'm seeing this color on this MacBook Pro is not going to be the same way it's going to appear on a desktop or on a Windows system. Different devices is going to alter how different colors appear on how and different colors appear. So for a phone, for example, someone that is using a iPhone and then is seeing blue can be seeing a different shade from someone that is using a Google Pixel. So it's very important to have high contrast of colors so that however somebody wants to view your application, whether they're viewing it from a laptop or they're viewing it from a phone or they're viewing it from any device at all, they will still be able to detect that color they are trying to, that element they are trying to portray. So it is very good to have a high contrast between two elements. Now I'll give you an example. For buttons, for example, when you want to select a brown color and you want to make your primary color a brown color, you must be very, very careful so that whatever your button is, somebody that is viewing it on any device will be able to detect that this is a primary color. You know, when you are using a kind of a faded color, it might appear good on your laptop, but someone that is using it on a desktop might not be able to detect that this is a primary color because it's kind of looking like a secondary button or looking like a button. And also, apart from devices trying to affect the way we see colors, some different situations can also affect. You know, most of the times when we are using our phone in a room or like in an enclosed area, whether we are in our room or in a classroom, when we are using our phone, we tend to see clearly what is in our phones. But when we walk outside and there is sun, you know, when we are under the sun and then we want to view our phones, because of the sun rays entering our eyes, we might not really see clearly what is in our phone. So you know, confuse ourselves. You know, like we might not really, we might have to either increase the brightness of the phone or bring it closer to our eyes or try to shield our face from the sun rays to be able to see what our phone is saying. So that all these factors have to be considered while we are adding colors to our UI application. And in considering these factors, you are also designing for usability. You know, people who cannot really see very clearly can be able to access the colors that you are using on your phone, whether they are visually impaired or whether they are either working under the sun or, you know, in their rooms. And then there is also a kind of there's a time that I was designing an application for Uber drivers, and most of the times, you know, that Uber drivers are always on the road, and most times when they are on the road, they tend to be distracted because they are driving with one hand and they are either look for something on the Uber app with another hand. So all the elements that we use in that application, we have to make it so bold enough so that whether they are driving or they are packed in one car in one place, they'll be able to see clearly everything that is being displayed on that. When we want to show warning, we're not going to use faded colors or we'll use tiny texts or we use, you know, all these things is always a factors in designing applications that are really very usable for users all over the world. And you can see that most of the times while we are trying to design for drivers that that will mostly be driving with one hand and pressing their phone with one hand, we are also putting into the equation nursing mothers, for example, you know, people who are breastfeeding their babies and they will tend to carry one of use one of their hands to carry their baby and the second hand to be pressing their phone. You know, we are also putting them into the same equation of trying to design for everybody. And that is why, as UI designers, that is, I'm always hammering that the difference between product design and graphic design, because you are putting the user first in everything that you do. If you want to add colors, you have to be very certain that will this color be very noticeable for our users, even if they are distracted. Say you want a warning image, a warning prompt. You have to design something that even if they are distracted, you should be able to detect that this is a warning and not a success prompt. This difference is very, very important, and it's also called the contrast in colors. So there are different examples of colors, of color contrast. It could be high contrast and it could be low contrast. So for high contrast, we have like a white text on a black background. It's very, very easy to read, as against where you have like a light blue text on a white background. It might not really be very noticeable to read. I've already given a website URL that we could also always check for our color contrast. It will tell you there by the time you put maybe the color of your elements on the URL of the background, it will tell you if it's either high or it is low. And it could even suggest the colors that you could use to make sure that it is meeting the requirements of contrast. So for low contrast also is like meaning contrast between two elements based on color is not really so high. And for example, we have like light gray text on a white background. It's going to be very hard to read. Then that about color contrast. Then for color wheel, I don't know, like most of us must have been hearing about color wheels, like initially. Then the color, which is how the color wheel look like, this particular one. So the color wheel consists of primary colors, secondary colors, tertiary colors. So it's like a visual representation of the relationship between colors. Like I said, the color theory as a whole is to each other. So it could easily blend together or it could have a high contrast with themselves. So this color wheel is a tool that will help us as UI designers to be able to select colors while we are designing. For this first one, we have primary colors. So the primary colors is the red, the blue, and yellow. For us that did arts right in primary school or secondary school, you must have been hearing primary colors, secondary colors, tertiary colors, and all of that. So primary colors are the base colors. These are like the building foundation, the foundation of colors. So every other color is being formed either with the primary color or with secondary color. Like we have secondary colors. Secondary colors are formed with primary colors. So primary colors is like the foundation of everything about color. Before you can make any other color, you must combine either two or three of these primary colors. And we have only three primary colors. They are red, blue, and yellow. So for secondary colors, and on the color wheel, I'm just wheel for the primary colors. Yeah, this first one here is a yellow, and here is the primary color. We have yellow, blue, and red, red, yellow, and blue. These are the primary colors. Then for the secondary colors, they are created by mixing two primary colors. So for colors like green, you can create green by mixing I think by mixing blue, by mixing red and blue, and then orange. You can create orange by mixing, it's not very compulsory to have how they mix these different colors, but it's just in the basic knowledge, you just know that secondary colors are gotten from primary colors. In secondary colors, we have the green, the orange, and the purple. Then for tertiary colors are created by a combination of the primary and secondary colors. So I'm going to make a reference. Okay, I think the reference that we need is okay, is already here. So the three type of colors that we, and primary is the three foundational colors, which is the red, the blue, and the yellow. And secondary is gotten from primary. Then tertiary is gotten from both primary and secondary colors. So on this color wheel, there are different um ways of combining colors. So there are different ways of colors. And for this first combination of colors, we have the analogous colors next to each other on the color. So we are going to pick this green. You can see this green, and then we have the yellow green, and we have this one. So 1, 2, 3, they are the colors, and then we can decide to use these three combination of colors in our design. They will most likely go with each other. Then you can see this other one here, yellow, this one that looks like orange, this 1, 2, 3. These are also analogous colors, that the colors that are next to each other on the color wheel. So most of the times when we have a base color, say yellow for example, and then we will easily match with yellow, it's always best to pick either this one or this one, because these are the colors that are next to yellow. So these three colors are what we call the analogous color. Then when you come to your red, this one now that is red, finding an application that has a red as their base color, you can just pick this that beside it. They are always going to go hand in hand with this base color. And also the same also goes for blue. This blue also, if you want to pick colors that is really going to rhyme with themselves, you can pick these two colors that are beside it. And these are what we know as analogous color. These are colors that will easily go with each other when you are trying to design. All right, so the next type of ways of combination of colors is mono monochromatic colors. Okay, so these are using different shade of the same color. So say for example, you want to use green, and then you now tend to use, you can see on this way, you can now tend to use different shades of that same base color. Yeah, you are trying to use a base color that is green, and then you create different shades of it. If you use these colors on your design, they are always going to go together because because they are different shades of a particular color. The same thing with blue. If you want to use blue as a base color, you can create different shades of blue and then use on your design. So the same example is also shown on this purple. Yeah, there's a shade of purple, and then there's a way of creating the different shades of purple. So I can show you guys how to, yeah, I was already doing one here. I can show you guys how to do the of a particular color to create the monochromatic colors. You can see on this one, this is our base color. This is red, for example. This is red, for example, and then we want to create different shades of red. Let us say we want to create this. You can pick this first column. You go to this from this right panel here, and then you select the fill color. So there is this drop down that you have here. You have different options of drop down. You have the H, the hex, the RGB, the CSS, HSL, and HSP. So you click on this HSL, and this last one that you have here, that you have brightness. This first one is the opacity. The opacity can be adjusted also from this side, from this code that we have here. But we're not going to play with that one. We are going to touch on this lightness. This HSL means hue, saturation, and lightness. So that is what the HSL means. Then for this HSP, we have the hue, saturation, and brightness. But we want to this HSL to create like different shades of red. So once you come here and then you go to the lightness, you reduce it by 10. So I think on Windows, I don't know the keypad this thing, but on Mac, you hold down shift and then you press the arrow down, the down arrow, and then it goes down to 40. So it has reduced by 10. But if you can be done with taking, you cannot be pressing, say I want to use the next one, and then here it's 50. I can just press 30, like type it, it will go down to 30. So this one too. Okay, let me just make this an auto layout so that duplicating is be very easy. I'll make each of them a frame first. Then I'll select everything and then create an auto layout with it. So if I select one, I duplicate. So I want to take it down to by 10, reduce it by 10. Then for this one, I will take it up by 10. Take it up by 10. So you can see like I'm already creating the different shades of a particular color by this is like different shades of red that I've created. So this is looking very, very, I don't know. Let me try to replicate. This red is, let me try case for blue. What's the color code for blue? Let's just pick anyone. This is like blue, and I want to make a I pick I duplicate it and then take it down by 10 of blue. By reduce it by 10 and make it an auto layout. Make it a frame. Then make everything an auto layout. All right. Then take it by 10. Take it by 10. So you can see this is really forming a different shades of a particular color. So it's if for example you are designing an architect have a base color of blue, we can decide to use different shades of one particular of that base color and it's perfectly in our designs. So that about the complementary colors. So these are colors that are opposite to each other on the color wheel and they have high contrast. Like the basic example of black and white. If you are designing a black and white application, you can see very clearly where So if it's on a if the black text is on a white background, it have a very high contrast. So that's the same thing with complementary colors. These are colors very distinct. It's not different shades or they're not next to each other. They are exactly opposite color. And then you have colors like red and green. You can see this red that is here. The color that is opposite is green. When you tend in a particular interface, in a particular design, it's going to be like you are going to add a lot of it's really going to be very noticeable that these are two distinct colors. They are not trying to combine colors to rhyme together. They are trying to make a very high contrast between this color and this color. So there are so many of them. You can see this yellow and they are it's on the color wheel. And then if for example if you are designing most applications that you the design they are trying to catch the users or children applications showing so many colors. You can see that most of the time when you go to a children app, you can see colors flying up and down because they are using colors that are complementing themselves. They are using colors that are entirely different on in position in the color wheel. So it creates lots of attraction in your design. And then when you want to combine two colors that are exactly opposite, you know, you have to be very careful so that you don't combine colors that when people it's not going to be appealing for them. So that is why most of the times you see that blue and green always go hand. If you have a application that have a blue as their brand color, and if you throw in blue, and if you throw in yellow into the application, it's just going to sit perfectly well, and it's very obvious of the element they are trying to show with that. So it can be used to create a focal point in your interface. And then the same goes with red and green. You know, you have design application that has a green color, and then you just throw in red. It's just a very good way of trying to create a contrast in your design. So, um, in conclusion, this is just the very fundamental. Trust me, colors is a very broad theory. It's a very broad topic in UI design, and we can only take it one step at a time. On that one day. So today is just the foundation, the basics of what the color theory is about. And then as UI designers, it's always very good to master the use of colors. And by mastering the colors, you have to start from the foundation. And based on this class, we've learned the different type of colors and how it can invoke different feelings on people all over the world. So um I'm done with the presentation of the whole theory of colors. Do you guys have any questions? Are there any confusion, any points? Okay, I think I have to escape. Okay, Precious, you can speak.
Um, my network was having some glitches when you first talked about primary and secondary color. I think from and it went blank and I wasn't hearing. Could you please share your screen again, please, ma, on the primary and secondary colors, please?
Okay, let
Miss
me.
Jacinta,
Yeah, I'm here. Let me share my screen again. Primary colors. So so I was saying like primary colors, these are like the foundation colors. And for primary colors, every other color that exists in art are form combination of primary colors or combination of primary and secondary or combination of different colors. Whatever color that any other color that you have outside these primary colors from the primary color. And the primary colors are red, blue, and yellow. These are the three primary colors we have. For secondary colors are created by mixing two primary colors together. So for secondary colors, we have the green, the orange, and the purple. Either mix either red and blue to get green, or you mix blue and yellow to get another secondary color, or you mix red and yellow to get the third secondary to get orange. So this green, orange, and blue is gotten from mixing two primary colors. That is how we get colors. Created by mixing a primary color and a secondary color. So do you understand?
Okay, yes, yes, ma. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I think who again is there? Let me see. Okay. She so
Good evening, everyone. Um,
yeah, good evening.
Please, my question is the color shades that you talked about. I think I was off for a minute when you were trying to explain how to bring different shades of a color from a particular color. I think I missed that part, please.
Okay. I think
Thank
I will
you.
just continue for the next one. So after the brainstorm section. So okay, let's go over it again. Okay, where is it? So this is a chromatic color using of different shades of the same color. Like this green, for example, we can pick green as a base color, and then we use different shades of that green to form a new color wheel that we can use on our designs. So this also goes for blue, and then we have a blue base shades of blue form in our designs. So I was just showing us how we can now create these different shades on Figma. They can be we can get there are design systems that already have these different colors, but then if you want to from scratch on our own. So say for example you already have a base color, and then we are trying to create different shades of this particular. I'm just trying to use an auto layout so it can be very easy for us to duplicate this frame. So when we duplicate it, these are two frames. Then we highlight the two frames and then we make them an auto layout. So this second one, this is the right panel on our Figma board. And then we click on this color here, HSL as an option. There are different options like I mentioned. This person is HX. You can use it when we have the code already. You just type in the code. The second option is the RGB. The RGB means combination of red, green, and blue. You know, like you must not have it. You can just check Google, or you can just be playing around with different colors you can have here. So this is RGB. Then CSS too is also a combination of red, green, and blue. Then you put the code here. But for this, we are going to select the HSL, which is the H is for hue. And hue is like another name for color. This is like the base color. That is what hue is. If we want this, the hue is going to be changing. If you notice, only just the hue, because this the hue is the base color. But let me not confuse you guys. Anyway. All right, so we pick the HSL, and then this third option here, which is the lightness, we'll be reducing it by 10 to create the next shade of color. So this lightness is like how exposed is this color. You know, if you make this lightness to be 0, for example, this becomes black, because meaning that there's no lightness on this color. But so this particular lightness is like how the amount of light that we are adding to this color to create a particular shade that we want. And that is why if we reduce it by 10, it makes it reduce the lighting that is exposed on this particular color. And then if we duplicate it again to create the next shade of the color of this base color, and then we reduce it lightness again by 10. We keep on going. So let's say we want to create like 10 different shades of this of our base color. We've created, so now we have like, this is very dark. We have like 6 different shades. So we can, instead of reducing the 10, we can decrease it to make it 63. Increase it. Sorry. We increase it 10. We increase it by 10. And then it keeps on going like that. The different shades of this particular color, of this particular base color. So this is our base color, I remember. And then there are different shades of this color. So if we are designing an application and then we have a particular base color, then we can decide to use the different shades. It's going to blend really well. And decide to use the different shades of different elements in the interface. So is that gotten to answer questions?
Yes. Thank you so much. Perfectly gotten.
All right. Um, what else one thing? There's a queue again. You can also drop your questions on message, just in case. I think MTN is really bad this evening. I had to use Airtel. MTN is, I don't know, it was bad this evening. So yes. So you can just still drop your questions in the messages. Then I can't really see the other people that raised their hands again. Does anybody have any other question? Is it Monachi? Okay, I can see the queue now. Monachi.
Are you leaving?
Yeah, good evening.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Actually explained well, but I have I don't know, a little question. I would like to am confused at some point. Where you talked about the primary colors, you said the primary colors are just the red, yellow, and blue. But then I've actually seen I've read something and I got that the primary colors has to do with the RGB colors, that's the red, blue, and green. So I want to know if they are still the same thing or they are situation where you use the RGB colors and where
Sorry, you said the RGB. I'm not really getting what. I'm not like you're not audible.
okay, can you hear me now?
I
I'm
hear
not
you.
audible now. Okay. I said about the colors you talked about. You said the primary colors are red, yellow, and blue. Okay. But then I've actually read something and I figured out that according to what I read, that the primary colors are RGB, red, blue, and green. So I want to know if they are the same or there are situations where you use the red, yellow, and blue, and where you use the red, green, and blue.
Okay, the primary colors are the RGB colors,
Yeah.
red, green, and blue.
Yeah, I'm
Okay,
asking if they're thing or the situation when you use the red, yellow, and blue, and when you use red, blue, and green.
okay. There is the RGB colors that you can see on the this thing, this RGB, red, green, and blue. But then this red, green, and blue, if you want to get a color like orange, I don't know how the combination of colors to be able to get an orange color, for example. And then, based on my research, it's always red, it's always red, blue, and green, red, blue, and yellow. It's always red, blue, and yellow. So, and even on the color wheel, you can see is here. Okay, let's you can see is these three these are the basic color. Then every other color in between it is it comes from a combination of these these three colors that's on the triangle. So maybe for UI design or the color based on color wheel, these are the three foundational colors based on color wheel.
Okay.
Um, Joanne. Okay, I think I have. Is it only which one?
Um, sorry,
Okay.
I just wanted to ask, like, but I think it was already answered. It's about the color shades. So, like, what you were doing was subtracting the 10, like tens from each number. So, I wanted to ask that. So, does that mean that if you're adding 10 to it, it becomes lighter, like lighter shade? But I think you already answered that. So,
Okay. So you got it now.
yes, yes, thank you.
Okay. All right. Sure, ma.
Good evening, ma.
Yeah, good evening.
Ma, I want to ask. You said the RGB, R, I think RGB and the other ones like those shades of colors. Is there a situation or a scenario where we can usually for a scenario like must it be a particular shade or can we just do as we please like pick a color?
Can we?
Can we just pick any color we feel like is good for our app or must it be a particular shade?
I don't entirely get the question. Sorry.
Like the in the Figma this thing we have the HSL, the H or the other ones. Like so if we are designing something now, must we have a particular must we pick them?
Okay, like must you pick HX or must you pick RGB or must you pick?
And so yes, and also if we are picking them, does it has to be what kind of scenario does it has to be in for us to pick those kind of those this thing?
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't matter. Okay, how am I going to explain? It doesn't matter what you are picking. Like, say for example, you want to use this color, this red color, and then even if you have just the HXS code, like this HEX code, and then how will I put it? And then you have the RGB code. Whatever you want to use, like um okay, let me start by answering your question. No, you don't have to pick any of these to be able to select your color. So you can
Yeah.
work with anyone you want. Just like we have CSS. CSS is what the content developers are going to be working with. A UI designer, you can decide that you want to work with HXS, HEX. And if you pick HEX, even if you come and change it to CSS, it's the same code for this particular color. So if you only have the HEX for this color and you come to put it here, it will bring out this color. And if you have the RGB for this color and you come to pick and to put it here, it will still bring out the same color. Do you understand? That's what
Okay,
I'm
thank
trying to
you.
say.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, this person is asking, is it only HSL that can be used to create the color sheets? Also, can the sheets be created automatically on Figma? Yes, like this HSL, like I explained, the HSL is the H is for H is saturation, L is for lightness. So lightness, just like lightness, if you cast light on a particular, the amount of light you cast on a particular element determines the kind of shadow it tend to have. So that on this color. So if you are reducing the lightness, so if you make the lightness to be 0, you can see it's going like a lot of lightness on it to make it white. So you can see it's just a way of the amount of light particular color is what will now change the shade of that color. So, and also can the shade be created automatically? If you have a plugin that you can create, amazing. The designers is going to appreciate it. But currently, I don't think there's any. There could be, but that can be created automatically. I don't know. So, um, I don't know where I can be getting this people that raise their hand. Let me see. Are there any other questions? Or you people are
Yes, please. Oh, okay.
sorry? Please speak.
I wanted to ask, like, from what I understand from your explanation, if does that mean that if I want to be adding 10 10 or subtracting 5 5, it doesn't matter, it mustn't be 10 exactly, right? I can, if I choose, I can also subtract 5 5 to change their shades,
Okay. Let us
or I can subtract 20. Like, is the constant, is
let's
10 the
try.
constant?
It doesn't matter. No, it does not have to be 10. Like I
Okay.
said, this is like a this is like they are trying to create like a pattern. So let's say you want to do 10 and 8, 20, I mean 5, 5
Mm.
minus 5, 48.
Okay.
I'm trying to create it. So now, can you look at these two colors now? Are they distinct? Like, do they have
So
high
we
contrast?
can't see your
We can't
screen.
see your screen.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
We can't see your screen, ma.
Yeah, I heard. I'm trying to share.
And this network is very terrible. I don't understand.
All right, you can see my screen now. Abi. So
Yes.
this first one, let's try to reduce 5, like you said. So we reduce 5. Are you seeing any noticeable difference in these two
No,
colors?
not really.
Let me click
Okay.
right. Center back. Are you seeing noticeable difference between these two? No.
No, not really. They look really similar.
But at least on this one, between this one and this one, there is a noticeable difference.
Yes.
Yes, obviously.
So
Okay.
want to use 5, we are not going to get the contrast they're talking about. It's just going to be they are using the same color. And using 10 does not mean that you can use this and this. You can just pick this and decide to say you want to pick something like this one. That's
Okay.
in the line of using the different shades of a particular color. I think
Okay.
saying that we need to have a design sample of particle. Obviously, we are going to have designs, but before we start designing, we need to be understanding the foundation of, by the time you start designing, all these things will be coming into your head gradually, one way or the other. So it's step by step. Um, Gloria, Gloria, I want to say something. Okay, okay,
No, no, no. It's just a
okay.
mistake. Sorry, ma.
Yeah. Okay. So now that you've introduced colors, we've introduced colors. In our next class, we are going to introduce fonts, and how to combine colors and fonts together. Then on Saturday, that's the final class, we'll now show the practical aspect of using both the color and the fonts, like adding it into our design. So it's like step, baby steps. We are taking colors first, we take fonts, and then we use it combination of both of them in the practical aspects. We are going to do lots of practicals, but then I need you guys to be able to understand the basics before we start doing practical. So in absence of no other questions, I think we can call it a day. For